Okay, so what we're going to be looking at here, I'm just going to rewind this a little. Can. There. Okay. The video recording did not work on this. It got recorded, but there was no voice. So what we're going to be doing is taking a look at the packet for the similarity packet. Now, first thing I want to talk to you about is to just kind of read through the packet, and you'll see what we're dealing with here is scale models. And you can see the Expo pen that I've had in my classroom, and you can see the smaller pen that it was a model for, an enlargement of, and also the cup of noodles. So what you're going to be doing is some research about what scale models are all about and deciding on a project that you would want to do. In your research, you're going to be looking up how scale models are used. You will see that they can be used for several different things. Car manufacturers make a scale model of a car before they actually make it. Housing projects are completed in a scale model before they are presented to the developer to make sure that it is what he wants. Hospitals, scale models are done. Schools, scale model of this whole school was created so that people knew for sure, the ones paying the bill, knew that the school would look the way they wanted it to do. So using a scale model is a very common thing to do. And you'll be looking at careers in that. Now let's take a look at the Expo marker. You will be measuring 5 parts of that. When you're doing your measuring, you want to make sure you're using a small scale. So you can see this ruler has the inches, but also along the bottom, it's got the centimeters. That's what you should be using, not the inches. It's too hard to be exact with inches. You want to use the centimeters because you can get an exact measurement using those. And you are going to be measuring 5 different places on the item that must be enlarged perfectly. So what I mean by that is there'll be 5 places that have to be enlarged that will basically make the item bigger. Then all the details of it, for instance, the cup of soup that you were looking at, those can be off by a little bit, but we want 5 particular places that you get to pick out that will be exact. You are going to be enlarging everything. The materials that you want to use are up to you. You do have to be careful. You will be doing it in class. Anything you use must be an item that you can bring to school, so no spray paints or anything like that. Be creative. There's fun things to be able to pick out, as you've seen in the classroom. Now the other thing, how much bigger are you going to make it? You will get to pick. Do you want to make it twice as big, 3 times as big, 4 times as big, 5 times as big? And we can go as high as 6 times bigger. You don't want it too big, and you'll be very surprised at how big a project becomes when you start doubling the size. That is one of the things that we're going to be investigating and exploring to give you an understanding of. So 6 times bigger is very big, even if it's a really small item. So we'll be careful about that. The other thing is you want to make sure it's not too big to bring to school so that you can carry it and transport it the way you would need to. So the first thing on the project, you're going to be answering the research questions and measuring. Some suggestions on items that you can use to enlarge if you'd like are the box of the Expo marker that I just showed. And also I have the marker boxes. You can use one of those if you would like. Just empty the markers into one of those bowls that I have with all the markers and keep the box. Colored pencils, the same thing. I also have the dominoes, and if anybody would like to use that, they can. Again, it's 5 places. So you're looking at the width, the depth, the height. and then 2 things on the Domino's package itself, like that great big, the word Domino's or the domino that is there. And there's the marker again. Again, there you could be enlarging the depth, the width, the height, of course, so the package itself, and then maybe the word markers, and then a logo, one other part on it. The next thing that you want to think about is the questions that you answered in the packet. How do they relate to what you are doing with your project? You want to make sure that you are measuring correctly and that you're able to get everything written down properly. Those questions right here in front of us, those are the ones that you're going to put onto Google Classroom. So you can answer those. No cutting and pasting, please. I want everything reworded so no 2 people have exactly the same answers. You can work off each other and come up with different ways of writing the same thing. That's the kind of practice that I want you to make, so I know you understand what you've been reading and the way you've answered it. Now in the project itself, take a look at the different pages on it. So we're on page 4. You're going to give your title, your project a name, and in this case, it's the extra gum packet. So you can see there they did the height, the length, and the depth. You can't see the depth on this, but that there was a part for that. And then they did the word extra, and they showed how long it is and how much longer it'll be. And then also those 2 other parts there that I am pointing to. And they were going to make the project 3 times bigger. So again, you can see there's 5 different spots on the extra drawing there, the drawing for the extra gum. 5 different spots that that student was enlarging. And they want to make sure that measurements are taken that are very precise. And then all you're doing with each of those measurements are multiplying. All she had to do was multiply each one of those numbers that she got by 3 because that was her scale factor. So you can see she did it the length in inches and in centimeters. You want to do the centimeters, they're much more precise. So you could see if you looked at that how those numbers on the under proportions, how those relate to the numbers that were there. And there's another project that was done. This was an ace of diamonds. And here's another one. The glue stick that you're also familiar with. And she did a real nice job of making a drawing of the item that she's enlarging and then showing the different pieces of it that she wanted me to be able to measure and make the comparisons of. Again, that was 3 times larger. Seems a lot bigger than that, but it was only 3 times an enlargement. And here we're looking at the ace of diamonds. This was a card, from a deck of cards. So she enlarged that one 5 times, and it was a pretty big card. And it's kind of hard to see all the different measurements there. So we'll just use another one. Excuse me. So we're going to zoom in on these numbers, taking a look at the bottom parts there, the original proportions, the ratio, how much bigger are you going to make it? For instance, on the Expo box, how much bigger would you want to make it? On the glue stick. And there you see the comparisons. So you're going to put the original proportions and then the enlarged proportions. And notice there's a check mark there because 6.3 times 3 is actually 18.9. And then you see the 7.7 times 3, 23.1 centimeters. Notice units must be written. And each one of those numbers, if you notice, all you do is multiply them by whatever the ratio is. So each one of those numbers along there, and all 5 of them, they're just multiplied by 3. And that gave the new dimensions. So those are all put in. Now, on the next page where you see enlarged drawing, you're going to draw the same picture of your item. You're going to draw the same picture, but now instead of those original numbers there, the original measurements, you're going to put the new measurements. How big will it be? So you see on this one with the card that the new measurements provided are the numbers that it came when it was multiplied by 3. And that's just showing what you know, what you need your new dimensions to be. So don't worry, this isn't, obviously it's not going to be drawn to, it's going to be drawn to scale, not to actual size. And please be as neat as possible on this. If you make some mistakes and you need a new copy of the page or anything, that's easy to give you another copy of that page if you mess up your drawings. The key to this project is we want to learn a lot, we want to do some exploration, but I really want you to have some fun with doing this because I think you can see that this could be a fun project, very interesting project that you can have a lot of fun with, but also learn a lot about the math.